Hello.
Hi, hello.
How are you on this fine day?
I'm awake. I'm slightly confused why we're recording today, and I thought
Uh,
it was Friday all day.
as long as
I
you didn't go into work, you're okay.
don't go to work on Fridays. I work from home.
That's fair. I do go into work on Fridays, but I also work from home, so like I go into work. Today I went into work, which is to say that I went to a farmer's market from an apple orchard and bought some apples that are completely unique to that orchard. They were cultivated and first grown in that part of upstate New York.
I'm sorry, Kat. I'm completely mesmerized. Someone found the dinosaur fight.
Who?
Okay? Have you seen the GIF going around of two dinosaurs fighting in a ring today?
No?
No.
I've been
Okay,
I haven't been home all day because I've
that makes
been
sense.
out buying hard apple cider from Orchard Hill Cidery.
So yeah, there's a GIF going around of dinosaurs fighting in a ring, and someone found the match.
Oh,
I'm gonna watch that later.
all right. That sounds like a plan.
Also, we should probably mention we have someone else here today.
Do we?
Hello from the control room.
Oh my god, Emma on drums this whole time?
But
Yeah, Emma's gonna be giving us a hand finding stuff and telling us when we sound awful.
Yeah, no, Emma will be acting as control room. It was either drums or keys. Emma, which one would you rather be, drums or keys?
I would actually rather be backup vocal.
Okay, keys it is.
Ah, fuck.
Because, as we know, anyone who chooses backup vocals is not cool enough to be a drummer.
That's a surprisingly low bar then.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, like, getting assigned backup vocals is different from choosing backup vocals.
Okay, that's fair. This is probably theater stuff and I don't understand it at all.
Oh, no. I'm just going based on how cool you are in relative position in a rock band.
Ah, okay. Just don't be the bassist.
I disagree.
Outside of Geezer Butler, how many bassists can you name?
A number of them?
Ah, shit.
I mean, like, first of all, there's Geddy Lee, there's Jaco Pastorius, there's fucking, like, literally all of the oeuvre of, say, Chick Corea. There's a lot you could go. Aaron, do you John Entwistle?
I barely remember names, let alone bassist names. I
There,
can't name the bands I like.
there are very cool bassists, and none of them are named Geddy Lee.
Okay.
I contend that Rush is the singular uncool band that still rocks.
Okay, but I have a different perspective on that. In that you can't escape Rush here.
I mean, you can't escape Rush on any classic rock station anywhere.
I mean, even the modern rock stations, some of the not rock stations.
So my point being, there is no cool way to be a member of Rush.
Okay.
Like, so if we break this down based on the seminal work by one Ronald Thomas Clontal, Rot, Rock, and Rule, the definitive guide to settling arguments about music, Rush falls into the category of rocking without ruling.
Okay.
Because they're nerds.
Now you see again, I have a different perspective because I live in Rush area. I could point out where some of the songs were written about. They aren't far away. That being said, my uncle hated Rush. Because he had to roadie for them for a while.
That's an interesting and very Canadian story.
Hello, Moki.
Hey, can I just let you guys know that it has been almost a year since Supernatural ended, and the actors still are trending on Twitter.
Is it just getting released in more places?
No, there's a convention this weekend, and they're IRL queer baiting.
I almost went to a Supernatural convention once.
I still plan on going.
Okay.
I just want to see the buff hot men act completely deranged for attention.
That's fair. That's
I guess
kind of
there's
what wrestling, isn't it?
Yeah, that is why we watch wrestling. Hey, did we want to talk about wrestling?
We can do that for a bit, I guess.
It's only been, what, 10 minutes since we started?
Yeah, enough time for us to be out of the range for the DMCA.
To answer Moki's question, I do already write fanfic, but predominantly most of my fanfic is actually just the same coin fanfic, which means it's technically original fiction and not fanfic.
Is it canon, though?
I don't know.
Debatable.
Do we want it to be canon?
It's not, like... It is, like... The fics that I've written are, like... all ages fics. They're not, like... explicit fanfics. Like, I wrote one about Keel taking care of a plant from Rhodia, and how helping the plant grow has mirrored his journey of growth as he's become a more whole person. Is that the kind of fanfic you were expecting? No. Is that the kind of fanfic I write? Yes.
Is anybody surprised?
No.
Not really.
No.
Okay. So anyway,
The wrestles.
the
Do we want to get
wrestlements.
into that?
Yeah, so I'll count us in. 5, 4, 3, nose.
Hello, and welcome to Monster in My Bed, the Monster Fucker podcast.
That's not the name of this show.
I've been waiting to use that one.
That is not the name of this show. If we're gonna do that, we've got to change all of the branding.
Or we just make a new show. Anyway, hello, and welcome to Working Out with My Girlfriend.
This is my monster fucker girlfriend, Erin.
This is my monster girlfriend, Kat.
And I better live up to that name. Music, music, music. Okay, so wrestling.
Oh god, this show got
For the
weird. And
audio.
it's all my fault.
For the audio podcast listeners, Kat has just put in ear teeth as a vampire now.
Oh wait, sorry, Erin's more into werewolves, right?
Oh yeah.
I'll get the bottom teeth too.
The bottom teeth are going in.
There you go.
Oh, this one's all my fault.
Entirely.
I
Normally,
only feel
I'm
really
the one
bad.
who derails us like this
Yep.
and makes it horny. This is all you.
Okay, well, we're going to get into the other horny thing then. right away so we get that out of our system.
Okay, Minoru Suzuki versus Bryan Danielson.
Yeah, a match that was thrown onto the buy-in for a 10 o'clock p.m. Friday night show because Tony Khan can.
Tony Khan. Tony Con.
So, a little bit of
Sorry.
context here, in that WWE decided to make SmackDown half an hour longer this week for no real reason, because there's no competition at that time.
No. Absolutely
reason to
no
worry
wrestling competition whatsoever.
So they just decided to do that. So Tony Khan said, well, if you're going to do that, I'm going to go an hour before our show on YouTube, and we're going to have Bryan Davidson versus Minoru Suzuki in a fucking dream match.
Yeah,
And,
it's
oh my
basically a
God.
dream match, huh?
Yeah, like, not just for us, like, for them too. You could see it just watching.
They had a match before, right? Like,
Yeah.
but Danielson was very new.
Yeah, back in 2004, I think Bryan was 4 or 5 years into the wrestling business at that point. And in his own words, Suzuki kicked the shit out of him.
Mm-hmm. I just genuinely enjoyed the way that this felt like the main event of a pay-per-view.
Oh yeah, it could have been on any pay-per-view. This could have main evented.
They literally could have thrown this match onto top of any card, any promotion, any time, and it would have been something people paid a lot of money to watch.
You sell out just put any building with this.
And it
And
was
it's on
just a
YouTube.
Friday night YouTube show.
Oh, just like us.
Usually.
No different than us, really. We could have had Suzuki and Danielson.
We could have... I would be afraid to have Minoru Suzuki on the show.
Possibly. He is a very intimidating man.
Mostly because my Japanese is very bad.
Oh, well, mine's non-existent, so.
Yeah.
So it
Now,
would be all on you.
If we had Bryan Danielson on, we could talk to him for at least an hour about veganism.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's enough to justify inviting Bryan Danielson to come on the show.
Yeah, in fact, that's an open invitation now. If Bryan Danielson would like to come on the show and talk for an hour about veganism, we will publish that.
We will literally put that on for free.
Yep. Word of warning, we cannot afford to pay you, Brian.
No, not at all.
Like, I can maybe like skip the dishes something to your house afterwards, but
They don't
that's
have skip
about
the
it.
dishes in the US.
DoorDash?
Grubhub?
I
Don't
think I
use
have-
any of those services. Just call the restaurant.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Most of them, like, basically don't... They take all of the profit from any given order, and the restaurant loses money on, like, most DoorDash and Grubhub and Uber Eats orders. Driver loses money unless you give them a minimum $5 tip.
Yep.
So remember, folks, no matter how inexpensive your order is, the minimum tip is at least $5 when you are using DoorDash, Grubhub, or Uber Eats, or any of the other food apps. Otherwise, it costs someone money to bring you your... And that is the bottom line, because I said so.
Okay. I'm glad we got to the bottom of that.
We had wrestling to talk about, and we
Yeah.
got very distracted.
New record, I think.
Probably.
So yeah, on the buy-in, like it wasn't just Danielson and Suzuki. So we
Which
also
would have
had
been, I mean, Danielson and Suzuki just on its own as a half-hour buy-in would have been worth it.
yeah,
This was like a full out. This was basically like a second episode of Rampage this week
for free.
with
'Cause we
no
also-
commercials.
Like the first match of Rampage this week. So we also had Lee Moriarty taking on Bobby Fish.
Mhm.
Both of them are now all elite after this match. So congrats to Lee. And Ty Conti and Santana Garrett. Who, interesting fact I learned this morning
Okay.
listening to Figure 4 online was the first time NXT beat Dynamite in ratings,
Mhm.
there was a Ty Conti versus Santana Garrett main event.
That's fascinating.
So just that little extra stuff in there. Like, not only do we get a great match out of it, it's got a little bit of history for this whole thing too.
There's a little bit of that. Sorry, I gotta adjust my gain. There's a little bit of that Tony Collins spice that makes it good soup.
Yeah, because he just remembers everything, so you know it's planned at on some level.
He is extremely a wrestling fan.
So Suzuki and Danielson. We got the full thing of Kaze ni Nore.
Mm-hmm.
We got the full thing of Flight of the Valkyries. And just at the start of this, Bryan Danielson was fighting himself to keep from smiling over it.
Mm-hmm.
That first face-off.
There was a lot of, like, little bits of, like, God, I love this moments from both of them. That, like,
I waited how long to be able to do this?
There's some, like, incredible highlight moments from that match, too. Like, not just, like, the, like, dream match moments, but, like, the kind of shit that happens in a match and you're, like, genuinely not sure if it was, like, accidentally too stiff.
Yeah. Like one of the opening exchanges where Suzuki's like palm chopping him, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really a knife edge, it's more of a palm. And he clips him on the mouth. And then with a follow-up elbow, clips him just beside the ear.
And Danielson is just laid out on the mat.
Oh my god. And there's a lot of worry there for a lot of people watching because he's got head and neck issues and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So he just crumples down. And people are like, do we have to call the match now? Is this real?
Yeah, there's like those moments like you don't know if that was real or not. You don't know if Danielson like actually got knocked out.
Mm-hmm.
I suspect it's not real,
No.
but it was sold so believably that you have no idea whether or not to believe it.
Yeah.
And that's like the mark of a really, really, really strong wrestling match.
And like, speaking of selling, throughout this whole thing, both of them are just selling everything to the nth degree.
So that kind of speaks to what like what more wrestlers need to think about when they're trying to show their toughness.
Yeah.
I think I saw a tweet, but like there's a difference between no selling to prove that you're strong, which just makes your opponent look weak and doesn't make you look strong. And then there's selling like hell and using your fighting spirit to power through.
Yeah. It's one of the things that people really do like from the Japanese strong style, and that you can hear everything hitting, and then they have to keep going.
Right. So, it's the brutality of it, the like just the sickening smacking sounds that these bodies make.
Yep.
And then the guy will just and sit up and be like, I'm ready to go again, bitch.
Give me another one, yeah. Oh,
Hit me with that chop one more time. I am
Yeah.
too strong for you.
but also that hurt like hell.
It hurt like hell, but I don't care.
Now, like going off of that as well, a lot of people were saying leading up, like there's no storyline for Suzuki and Danielson to fight. It was a criticism coming from a certain camp online.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, one, you don't need a storyline. You can throw two great people into a ring and let them go.
So,
AEW spent 6 months doing that at the start of Dynamite.
that and it speaks to the type of wrestling that they are expecting to see.
Mm-hmm.
Because that sort of thing, like just two guys that you want to see fight, happens all the time on the indies.
Yep.
You don't have time to build, like, most indie promotions don't have the kind of time to build stories like that, because you're getting whoever's available that weekend.
Yeah, and if you do, it's going to be like the top of the card where you have your regulars, and then whoever can make it for the rest. So
Somewhere like, I mean, it's more plausible somewhere like Camp Leapfrog, where their roster is fairly consistent, right?
Yep.
You're able to do it somewhere like GCW, where you can build up whatever the hell is happening between Matt Cardona and Effie.
One of the most amazing stories this year.
It's incredible. I love it. But you end up with some very fascinating some very fascinating matches that happen with no build-up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so deeply the opposite of how WWE has operated.
Yeah, for a lot of years, WWE was very... When they do build up storylines, they'll kind of spoil it, in that they'll have it play out like 3 times before the pay-per-view match.
Right.
Where matches just go back and forth rather than doing something a little more organic, like letting both of them show off separately, having different interactions. Like, yeah.
And to be honest, there are some stories where AEW is guilty of doing the same thing.
Yep.
It happens with the Hardy family stories a lot, where they just keep having the same match.
Yep.
And maybe that is there to appeal to a certain class of wrestling fan. And if that is your thing, more power to you. I'm glad that you have something you enjoy. But it is not the kind of wrestling that is long-term interesting. And it's funny because you would think the company that does more wrestling matches that have long build-ups, long stories before the pay-per-views, multiple matches between the guys, is better at long-term storytelling. But that's not the case.
Yeah.
I don't think WWE has told a 2-year-long story ever.
Not in the last 15.
Certainly. Maybe The Undertaker's WrestleMania streak is kind of its own story.
Even then, they only slapped it on around 2000, I think. Where they noticed, like, hey, we keep booking this guy to win every year.
But, like, it's interesting to see how the different types of wrestling apply the philosophy for storytelling, especially in the longer term. I'm doing my best to not say anything bad about any type of specific one of these storytelling methods being better, because they have both styles have fans, and if you enjoy it, that means it's good wrestling
or sports entertainment.
I mean, like, in the end, if there is to be another wrestling promotion war, right? The WWE versus AEW. I would like for there to just be as much good wrestling as possible.
Yeah.
I don't particularly want any company to lose. I think Vince McMahon's a bad person, and I think he should suffer financial consequences for bad wrestling, but I don't think any of the talent there deserves that.
No,
Maybe Braun Strowman deserved it.
Even then, apparently, like, he's cooled down since being fired and reevaluated a couple of things from what I've heard.
That's good to hear.
I have no proof. That's just what I heard. I hope it's true.
So, like, the thing is, I want the people who enjoy wrestling to be able to enjoy it in whatever form they enjoy it in.
At the same
That
time,
is the beginning and end of where I stand on this.
at the same time, I do kind of love the little barbs they throw at each other.
Oh, yeah, no, that's great. Beautiful, because it makes better wrestling. The barbs that they're throwing at each other, the challenges they're laying at each other's feet, is the reason why we have a YouTube match of Bryan Danielson versus Minoru Suzuki.
Oh.
The competition is not a bad thing in this case, because they are in direct competition with each other in a lot of ways. Even if they're not. If they claim they're not.
Even though we know they are.
It's just one of those things where you want the best wrestling product there can be to be on television.
Yeah.
And competition makes everyone step up their game or fall by the wayside. And you just gotta step up your game. Now, that said, WWE has some very distinct advantages. WWE is huge with kids. Kids love WWE.
Or at least their parents do. They're 55 and up parents.
Kids don't get counted in demographics, right? Like, that's why the 18 to 35 is huge, right? It's the youngest countable audience. But, like, kids are a huge part of WWE sells toys because kids love wrestling. Kids are the ones who still believe that it's real. You know? You have a distinct advantage of being the company that raises the next crop of wrestling fans in that regard. But at the same time, most of those kids do drift off of wrestling. And a lot of them convert, if they don't drift off, they convert into hardcore fans. Hardcore fans tend to drift to AEW's product more so than WWE. So, are they building up the next generation of AEW fans? I don't know. Is AEW doing that? Absolutely. Kids love Orange Cassidy.
Yeah. They love Orange Cassidy. They love the Bucks when they're not booing them. They love Mox, even though they probably shouldn't.
So, like, The other thing that AEW doesn't do as well as WWE is, at least in the men's division, highlighting their wrestlers of color. The top of the AEW men's division, in fact, most of the AEW men's roster is extremely white.
Yep.
And like, they're trying to take steps. You know, there's no question that they are taking steps. They're just taking them fairly slowly. And that's even with the fact that 2 out of the 3 men's or I guess 2 out of the 3 men's titles are held by Latina men, right? The Lucha Brothers and Sammy.
Yep.
But that kind of doesn't quite hold a candle to what's going on in WWE.
No, WWE has been a lot better at getting a platform. Like, just counting off like the top of the Raw card, you've got Bobby Lashley, The New Day, although I think some of them are on SmackDown now.
Big E at least is on SmackDown. I'm pretty sure.
Because they split them up again.
But Big E is a champ, right?
Yeah, like he's Universal Champ. So you've got them over on SmackDown. You've got Sasha Banks. I'm trying to remember
Vega.
the WWE roster now. This is going horribly for me.
You've got Zelina Vega. You've got Roman Reigns, who is a Pacific Islander. Like, there is a diversity at the top of WWE's roster that does not exist in AEW at the moment.
Yeah.
At least in the men's roster. The women's roster...
Yeah, that's Belair. That's the other one I was trying to remember.
Right. The men's roster in AEW is fairly white. The women's roster is significantly more diverse, though. Like, if you go to the actual roster page on their website, at least, yeah, it's still significantly overrepresentative of white people insofar as you have to take white and non-white, and then you get equal numbers. But, you know, treating non-white groups as a monolith is obviously not good or true.
That's not good. Don't do that.
Interestingly, though, the AEW Women's Championship has only had one white woman as a champion.
Mm-hmm.
Kinda neat.
It'd be great if they got more than one match a week.
It would be great if they could have more than one televised... Okay, 2 televised matches a week.
Oh, right. They got the second show, so they can do 2 now.
Yep, you know... I'm gonna be honest. I don't remember the women's match from Rampage. I remember the women's match from the buy-in.
It was Ruby Soho and the Bunny.
Right.
Which, I love Ruby Soho. I've documented it very well in this show.
Yes, you have.
The Bunny fucking had that match.
Yeah. It's very, 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 very joyful to see Allie wrestling in high-profile positions like that again, because she's very good.
Yeah.
And I just, you know, I like seeing wrestlers get to come back from, you know, like mental health issues stronger than ever. Because there's a lot of, like, there's a lot of... It kind of comes with the very nature of being a performer, that so much of your self-worth is based on other people's perception of you. And that can skew the value that you have for yourself. You stop looking at yourself as internally valuable because you're only externally valuable as you produce content for others to consume. And that can be really mentally damaging and really draining. And, you know, it's worthwhile to remind everyone that it's not a bad idea to get help with what you're going through in that case. Because you don't have to be alone through it, and there are people who care about you for you, not for the content you produce. That's my soapbox for the night. So we said we were going to spend an hour talking about Danielson versus Suzuki, and we've done 40 minutes of anything but.
I mean, we did talk about Danielson Suzuki, then we just got off on tangent. Just kind of par for the course.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, where did we leave off with Danielson?
Head injuries, lying on the mat, fighting spirit.
Okay. So Brian crumpling was very early in the match, like the first or second exchange, I think.
Yeah, it was shocking.
It was like 5 minutes into a 20-minute match. By the way, this match went 20 minutes.
I thought it went closer to 25.
Maybe. I started watching the clock at some point. It's like, yeah, it's about 20 minutes. Cool. And story. We were talking about story.
Right.
So, yeah, like, you have the whole history of Suzuki and Danielson going into this one. And then this match was really like Brian Danielson like leveling up from where he was before. Because if you want to look at it this way, he spent so much time in WWE that he's only accustomed to that level now.
Mm-hmm.
Which is fine for Kenny, because Kenny is like a video game character in his performance, so that's fine for him. But Suzuki is a strong style striker.
Right. There were precisely 0 flips in that entire 20-minute match.
Yeah. Unless
It
you
was
count the final segment as a flip, because they kind of rolled around.
that doesn't count as a flip. They didn't use the ropes.
Okay.
It was a striking, grappling, and submission-based match.
Yeah, so what you get is like this setup where Brian has to grind and endure through the sections where Suzuki has control,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very striking heavy, and like it hurts. It sounds like it hurts. And he has to get through those parts to where he can start to speed it up to more of his level.
It doesn't just sound like it hurts. Minoru Suzuki hits Bryan Danielson so hard in the face that he starts bleeding.
Yep. So it also hurts.
Like, you know, it's rupturing skin like that with a strike is
Mhm.
not that easy to do.
No.
And it hurts like a motherfucker.
Yeah. So, yeah, you have Danielson grinding through those sections to where he can start to speed it up. He can start running the ropes. He can get down on the ground. He can go for, like, drop kicks. And he tries a couple times to put cattle mutilation on.
Mm-hmm.
Which Minoru Suzuki is also just a super talented wrestler, so he can get out of it.
Yeah, he understands and knows how to get out of cattle mutilation. He understands and knows how to get out of Oh, good. What are some of his other submission finishes?
The label lock.
The label lock. Yes, that was the
Yeah.
one I was thinking of. Because that's the one that fucking Terryman uses in Kinnikuman.
Yes. How's that for a reference?
Look. I just... Kinnikuman is a good anime.
It is.
It's
The
weird, but it's
dozen or
good.
so episodes I managed to see growing up were very good.
I played a lot of the Ultimate Muscle Legends vs. New Generation game on GameCube.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's where I know most of the things that I know about Kinnikuman from.
So where was I?
You were talking about the label lock and how Danielson had to be able to beat Suzuki on the ground by
Yes.
grinding him down and just surviving. It was
Yeah.
it was an Iron Man match almost that had just one pinfall.
Yeah. And like you hit the halfway mark of this match about, and you see Danielson like he hits that new level
Mhm.
where now he's the one who's able to power through the strikes, and he's able to throw a little bit more into his stuff because he's been pushed so hard that he has to now, or he's just not getting out of this.
It's very much like that Dragon Ball moment where he has to go even further beyond, and he goes to Super Saiyan 3.
And they even yelled at each other.
Yeah, it was great. There are so many. That match was the most romantic wrestling match I have ever watched.
Okay. Can you explain that to me?
Okay, so this was a duel to the death. This was a fight between equals.
I wouldn't say at the start, but at the end, definitely, yes.
Yes, it was. But, like, that's the thing. Suzuki wasn't trying to win. He could have easily won in the first 3 minutes when he knocked him out, right? Like, it's clear that Suzuki wasn't looking to win. Minoru Suzuki did not care if he won that match. He wanted a good, hard fight. Thank you, Moki. He wanted to have a duel with grapples and strikes and submissions and just brutal violence to see how much he could pull out of Bryan Danielson, because Suzuki knew, and I think he still knows, he won that match multiple times throughout the length of the runtime.
Yeah.
There's no doubt that Suzuki won that match at least 3 times if he went for a pinfall. But that's not what he was there for. It's been however many years since they last wrestled. He wants to see, I know I can. He said it's this idea of, I know I can beat you. I want to pull everything you have out of you and see if you can beat me then. Give me everything, not just the first 5 minutes, not just the first 15 minutes, but I want every single ounce you have, and I am going to pull that out of you. And that kind of fight to the death, where it's, I know you are better than you've been giving me. That beautiful dance of not quite my tempo. The way that he pulls those little bits of strength that Bryan Danielson didn't know he had. That is the kind of romantic storytelling, the kind of romantic duel that exists in it has the same quality of romance as when Inigo and Wesley have their sword fight.
Okay.
It is two men who are the best at what they do, trying to pull everything out of each other to just leave it all out there and see who comes out on top at the end. And there is an inherent romance to saying, I know you have more. Show me. There is a deep respect for your opponent. It's that way that fighting to the death in some senses brings out this feeling of knowing someone on a deeper level than they know themselves that is so incredibly romantic. And maybe it's just because I have a weird fucked up love language where Erica and I frequently have duels to the death.
It does happen a lot.
But it is, in essence, it is that, like, the inherent romance of taking someone and coming to know them better than they know themselves. It's not the romance of knowing someone so intimately that you can immediately cut them to their core, but learning to know someone. And doing so through just the most violent. I lost the word. Fuck. Just the way that you. It's. Okay. Another anime thing. Did you watch G Gundam?
No.
Okay, so one, super racist. Just get that out of the way. There's a lot of very specific stereotyping that is unique to the Japanese worldview. There is a lot of racism as it pertains to Japanese racism specifically.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that the main characters interact is that they like have these arguments and they have these like setups that are fairly short, 1 episode, 2 episodes at most. And then they fight. And they fight in their Gundams. And they communicate through their fists. They communicate through the passion that they bring to the fight. And they come to know each other. And they become friends through that fight. It's that the battle is what makes you understand your opponent. Because you can't hide anything in the heat of a fight. There is nothing left unturned when you are fighting someone to the death. And that's what makes this match so romantic, is that it's two men bearing their souls to each other to say, I will give you everything that I have if you give me everything that you have in return. That's romance. That's why
Okay.
it's the most romantic wrestling match I've ever watched. Because these two guys went out there and they bore their souls to each other. They showed every ounce of fighting spirit they have. And they put everything into it. And the thing is, it's just that little bit that Minoru Suzuki held back. It says, good job, but I still could have beat you. And that's like this. It's so good. There's nothing like that on TV. You don't get to see people do that anywhere but in a wrestling match.
So specifically what you're describing here really reminds me of the philosophy of King's Road Wrestling, which
Okay.
is the style very heavily in All Japan Pro Wrestling, I believe.
It is All Japan, yes.
Yeah. Where everything is a story. And on your road to championships and the top of the company and all that, you will see the same people over and over again. And as you fight each other, you will get used to each other. So you'll see matches with like less of a feeling out period as people are more experienced together. And the things you do won't have as much effect. Like finishing moves won't be enough to finish a match now. So you need new and better and to bring more into it.
Right. You are evolving as your opponent evolves. You are building as your opponent builds. You have these repeat fights that bring you both to your brink. And it's the one person who can take that extra step whose cliff goes just a little bit further that moves on to the next person.
Mm-hmm.
That's
And
basically
that's
basically how this match felt, right?
yeah. And that's why the Burning Hammer was always such a devastating move, because Kenta Kobashi used it like 7 times in his career, and no one was even close to kicking out.
God, there's so many really cool stories that you could tell with wrestling, but I just, the way that this match went, like, I know it's a little cliche to refer to things as beautiful violence or whatever, but like, this was absolutely the kind of romantic violence that, like, and you can even mean romantic not in a not in the modern sense, but in like a Byronic sense, right?
Okay.
Like the romantic literature movement and stuff like that. This idea of like finding beauty in things that are not traditionally beautiful, finding beauty in the macabre, finding beauty in violence. And it's just, I know that I do these rants apparently every episode now.
Yes.
But
I just let you go.
like the way that this match played out, you got to see, like, it was in some respect it was the master versus the student, right? In some respects it was the master versus the master. It had both simultaneously in ways that didn't contradict each other, because you know that Bryan Danielson is a genuine virtuoso wrestler.
Yes.
You know that Minoru Suzuki is a wrestling god. Like, it is, it was I've used the phrase apotheosis before. The word apotheosis before when referring to Kota Ibushi becoming the god of New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Yeah.
When they unified the title. But that might have been and turned out to be a premature assessment of the way that they were going to book Ibushi. Neither here nor there. This was a god in Minoru Suzuki challenging a demigod for his place in the pantheon. And if you can best this god, if you can beat Hades and escape to try to find your mom, then you have earned your place among the gods. And I think that, in and of itself, is a story that holds a lot of romance, but not like a... You understand when I say romance, I don't necessarily... I do partially mean like a kissy-kissy romance.
Yes.
But I also mean like a romance of the sense of the way that romantic poetry exists. Not always sonnets about comparing thee to a summer's day, but Lord Byron telling heroic stories of the Byronic hero. Stuff like that. Like, the romance that exists in Mary Shelley's writing in Frankenstein, which was a book that she wrote specifically so she could get away from her husband and Lord Byron having gay sex.
Thank you for the factoid, Kat.
I mean, like, they tried to invite her to the orgies and she just wanted nothing to do with it, so she wrote Frankenstein instead.
That's fair, you know? Sometimes you're just not into the guy.
I mean, it's Lord Byron. You don't want syphilis, right?
Yeah.
Because the treatment for syphilis at the time... The treatment for syphilis at the time was mercury. And you just took mercury until you died of syphilis.
Yeah. The treatment was worse than the disease. Okay.
Were there any other matches that were worth talking about?
I mean, the other 4 matches of the night were all very good.
I'm sure they were. I don't remember most of them. No, okay. Matt Sydal versus CM Punk was a fun match.
Yeah, that was great in a completely different way from Suzuki Danielson. And
Absolutely.
it was a great segue away from that into Ruby versus the Bunny, which was actually given some time, even if a bunch of it was through the commercial, and they did really good work.
Absolutely. Then we had America's Flop Team versus Inner Circle in a forgettable match.
Proud and Powerful showed up.
That was the best part.
Sammy looked cool. Men of the Year looked cool.
Jericho and Hager were there.
Yes.
Okay, so...
yeah.
With all that said, and all of that yesterday talked about, do we want to talk about the Dynamite card?
Oh my god, I want to talk about this Dynamite card.
Alright. So, who do we have on this card that you want to talk about, Aaron?
Yes. Okay, so the first thing is we're gonna have CM Punk on commentary again, which is always better than I anticipated it to be. So I'm looking forward to that.
Is this gonna be the typical Dynamite crew
I
and
think
CM
so.
Punk?
I
So
think
we
so.
won't get my beloved insipid Taz commentary. We won't
No,
get
we won't get
Taz
the Taz
singing along to music.
which is they allowed Taz to sing along to the music and make him his own lyrics on national TV, and that's amazing.
I love Taz so much. Oh my god. Okay, so actually, can we rewind real quick? Because I do want to talk about Taz for a moment.
Okay.
So during the Tai Conti match, like, and this is usually with Tai Conti matches that Taz gets like this.
Yeah.
There's moments where he starts to talk about judo, and you understand that the goofball that he's playing is a character.
Yeah.
Because when Taz starts talking about judo, not only does he know what he's talking about, but the, like, deference that he pays to the art of judo, the way that he talks about the moves, the way he like the Jujigatami, the cross arm bar, or whatever, other Japanese words that I can't remember.
Yep.
I only remember the Jujigatami for whatever reason.
It's a pretty fun word.
Taz is someone who has a lot of respect for the art of judo and puts that into his work on commentary. And as much as we like to make fun of him for being the goofy Oompa Loompa man, he is incredibly good at what he does. And he's also just genuinely, like, enjoyable to listen to because they let him be weird. And more commentary people should be allowed to be weird.
It's just good.
Taz singing along to Jungle Boy's music is very good. Taz singing along to Ruby Soho, very good.
Okay. Ruby Soho has lyrics.
Yep.
And he just filled in blank space with different lyrics and then went to a real song.
Yep.
Oh god. It's a thing. But yeah, it's like there's that shift in personality where he just loves talking about martial arts and specifically jiu-jitsu.
Yes.
And
not
it's
jiu-jitsu,
so-
judo.
Right, sorry. And it's so cool to get that look behind the curtain on Taz the person instead of Taz the character, like you're saying.
Right.
And I just need to repeat it for myself.
Yeah, no. You've very concisely summarized what I took a very long time to say. Also, heads up. The apple juice that I drank went right to my head.
Oh my god.
What? I wonder what percentage of fun. 6.9. Is actually fairly low.
Mine's 5, but I mixed it with Fireball, so who knows what it's at.
In my defense, I smoke more grass than I drink juice.
Okay, fair.
I am using that specifically because it hurts us in the YouTube algorithm when we talk about juice or grass without euphemizing it.
Because YouTube is for adults, right?
We're not allowed to, we're already, just by nature of being set as an 18 plus stream, not going to ever be monetized.
Oh yeah, I know. If you'd like to sponsor Working Out with My Girlfriend, please let us know.
If you'd like to contribute to the way that we make this, Do so by going to patreon.com/SosesMedia. You can contribute as little as $1 a month, and it'll still help us tremendously. If every person watching this stream right now, Moki, contributed, we'd have $1 extra.
I think Moki is contributing.
I know. I'm being facetious.
God.
Nobody actually needs to give us money. We do this because we love it. We would do this regardless of whether we made money on it or not. But money helps us do fun things. Yeah, I know we have $7.50 a month from you. And we deeply, deeply, deeply appreciate it.
It makes such a difference, actually.
It really does. Like, I'm able to afford to edit Chicks with Dice because of money like Moki gives us. It's not to turn this into a PBS fundraiser, but you'll get viewers like you. Yeah, no. We're doing the PBS fundraiser telethon, and if you donate $100 or more right now, you can get all 12 VHSs of Ken Burns' Civil War.
That might be a steal, actually.
I'm pretty sure my mom still has the VHS copies of Ken Burns' Civil War.
I mean, at least your mom donated to PBS, then. They're a very important company.
Oh yeah, no, we have always been very big supporters of publicly funded arts. Like, when I grew up, most weeknights, we would either watch Nova or Nature. Like, those were the shows that I watched growing up, which is why I know so much bullshit about fucking okapis.
Hey, that's pretty awesome, actually.
Like, there's a lot to be said for the fact that most of the TV that we watched was educational in science, history, or ecology. And I'm extremely, extremely grateful for that. And I should text my mom about that now so I don't forget.
Okay. Well, while you're doing that, I will go down the Dynamite card. So like I said, we're going to have CM Punk on commentary. We're going to have Bryan Danielson again, who can somehow walk, taking on Bobby Fish in... It's going to be another really good striking heavy match, which I hope doesn't get outshined by the Suzuki match. Like, I hope people watch it as its own thing. We've got Malachi Black taking on Dante Martin. Dante Martin. I threw an accent in there somewhere.
Dante Martin. His name is Dante Martin. He's from Quebec. He's not.
No.
He's not at all.
No. And this one's interesting because I listened to the Malachi Black episode of AEW Unrestricted this week. Another very good podcast. Not as good as ours, but, you know, they get better guests, I guess. And they asked him specifically about, like, the black and white makeup that's appearing on his face. And he's like, all I'm going to allow myself to say is that for the character of Malachi Black, it's not makeup. It's more like possession. Or an entity taking over a vessel.
Right, it is, to put it more sexily, corruption.
Yes. And one, I'm glad I was very close in my guess on what was happening. And two, that's so fucking good. I love it.
3, hot.
It's kind of hot, yeah. Like I said, welcome to Monster in My Bed.
You got me.
Yeah. We're gonna hear from Hangman Page.
Hangman?
Yeah, after he won the Casino ladder match, he's the #1 contender.
he's out of PTO for the year.
Yes, he's got to show up every week now. He can't take time off.
That is kayfabe. He took time off and was granted paternity leave to spend time with his wife and his new baby.
He's that dad who will show you pictures apparently,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, I want to meet Hangman, and I want to be shown pictures of his kid now. Like, that's the most wholesome thing ever.
That is a very Hangman thing, though.
Yes.
Like,
Hangman's just wholesome.
That's the kind of thing you would expect. It's the kind of thing you'd expect from a guy who also very frequently tweets in support of strikes.
Yep.
Like, in terms of celebrities that I actually admire for their, like, activism, it goes, fucking Jane Fonda, Danny DeVito, Martin Sheen somewhere in there, along with Hangman.
Yeah.
But Jane Fonda at the top, because
Yeah,
Jane Fonda was right about the Vietnam War.
Yeah, like, that's not even a contest. We're also going to have Jon Moxley taking on Wheeler Yuta.
A singular Jon Moxley or multiple?
A Jon Moxley.
Okay, not John's Moxley.
No, not John's. And according to Chuck Taylor's tweet, Yuta is going to get choked out by Moxley and then by Statlander for losing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of jealous. So moving on. Penelope Ford and Kiera Hogan.
Kiera Hogan. Is she...
Hogan. Oh my god, why is my mouth being dumb?
Your brain gets smart, but your head gets dumb.
Oh god, it's true.
So much to do, so much to see, so much in the back street.
I'm really looking forward to this one, like, ever since they announced it, because this should be a really good match.
I mean, yeah, Kiera Hogan's great. Like, it's just a good sounding match, and like, that's the thing, like, AEW consistently puts together good sounding matches.
Yeah. And then they're just good matches. Who'd have thought?
Something that sounds good being good sounds unheard of.
And then lastly, we have the AAA tag titles held by the Lucha Bros being defended against a team of Andre El Idolo's choosing.
Gonna take that one more time?
Andrade El Idolo. Like I said, my mouth is getting dumb. I've had too much cider.
Okay, I will point out that Ricky Starks also made the same mistake, so you're in good company.
I'm in good company. You know what? If I'm with Ricky Starks, that's pretty cool. My mouth isn't working.
Do we want to fucking end this show?
Oh my god, yeah. I'm just going to say real quick on this that they haven't said who Andrade's team is going to be. Jose, his assistant, did tweet today saying hashtag not Los Ingobernables.
Good to know.
We'll see who else shows up from there. Could be a lot of people still. Okay. So, you know what? I'm just going to throw out my recommendation here. And this is one I did with Emma this week, actually, where we sat down and watched a few hours worth. So the match I'm linking to is Hikaru Shida taking on Ryo Mizunami.
Oh, that's a great match.
This is one of their draws from Japan. And so the homework is to watch this and then watch their match from Revolution this year. And compare and contrast. Because there's a lot of overlap and there's a lot of difference. And it's really neat to see how they both grew after this.
I think that's one of the fascinating things that happens with wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
is that you get,
Absolutely.
like, as much as we did just rag on WWE for cooking the same match over and over again, there is something very neat about being able to see two people evolve in how they fight each other.
Yep. You usually don't see that after 3 weeks, though.
No, you should see that after months or years.
Yeah.
So anyway, I also have a recommendation. And it is
Mm-hmm.
go buy some apples, babe. Apples are good.
Honestly, I've got some apples left over upstairs still.
Have
When I
some
went last
apples.
week.
They're
When
good
I
for
went
you.
last week.
They're good tasting. And if you live in the New York, New Jersey area, fucking go to Soon's Orchard. They literally, like, hybridize their own apples there. They're one of the premier apple places in the world.
That's pretty cool.
And, like, not that hard to get to. You just take 87 to 17, take 17 to 6, and then bam, you're there.
I mean, it's a little bit harder for me to get to, but okay.
The pear apple. Interesting. I also have a thing that I'm going to put in the... I don't remember. We haven't done this segment in a while. The thing that we disliked, the one thing we disliked from this week.
Okay, yeah.
Whatever the heck that segment was called. Pears. Pears are bad. Just eat apples. They're better.
I like both.
No, pears are bad. You like mealy apples? Because that's what pears are.
I mean, I don't turn away mealy apples.
Disagree.
I don't think we can do this show anymore.
In that case, I have no choice but to end the show. For the last time, wink. For the very last time ever, be gay. Do crimes.
See you in 2 weeks.